In December 1986, Shelley and Michael Bowen welcomed their third child into the world, Michael Jr.
When Michael was born, everything seemed to be fine. He cried, he had all of his toes, he had all of his fingers, and didn't have a hand growing out of his head. Everything looked absolutely perfect with him.
But when Michael is just 2 days old, Shelley notices something is wrong.
He sounded really congested, like he had a cold. It was a horrible cough for such a tiny baby, and I could feel him rattling.
Shelley immediately takes Michael to the pediatrician.
He had a respiratory infection. It was just the sort of thing children have when they're born.
And the pediatrician told us that his immunities had not developed, and it would be best if we just didn't expose Michael to anyone for a few months.
Within weeks, Michael's 1-year-old brother Evan starts getting sick too.
They would have these unexplained fevers, or they would develop just these horrid cases of diarrhea.
At first, the Bowens aren't worried.
They were about the same age, only about a year apart. They're playing together all the time, so it didn't really seem unusual to me that if one got sick, the other one got sick as well.
Then, both boys develop a bizarre skin condition.
It started out as a little red dot, and then it would get very warm, and then it would raise up, and then it looked like the skin would just want to open up.
They looked like bug bites. They looked like they had little bug bites, on their face and sometimes on their arms.
We were told by the pediatrician that they were getting clogs in their pores. We needed to start bathing the children 3 to 4 times a day, and it didn't work.
After a few days, the rash mysteriously disappears. Shelley assumes it's harmless and isn't concerned when it comes and goes in the next few months. But when she notices that neither boy is hitting his developmental marks, she's worried.
Michael and Evan were slow to their milestones. Like they rolled over a little slower than the books would say that they needed to.
I was kind of following Evan around with the video camera. I noticed that his walk was a little bit unusual, and his gait.
Look at that walk.
Still, in every other way, Evan and Michael behave like normal toddlers.
Whenever the boys were well, they were very normal. They played, they were social, they had their imaginary friends and their imaginary games.
Michael and Evan were more like twins, really.
Evan was the older of the children, but Michael was the one that tended to be a little bit more in control of the situations.
Michael, give the water hose to Evan.
2 weeks after the Christmas of 1987, Michael, now 1 year old, begins acting strangely.
He would not eat. He refused his bottle. He would crawl just a little bit, and then he would look at me and smile, and that was about all he could do. He was very listless.
I came from school, and he was crying. His face looked like it was a little bit purple.
When I picked him up and I held him up next to my chest, I could feel his heart pounding into my chest, and I knew that he was very sick.
The Bowens rush Michael to the emergency room.
They did some normal routine tests, drew some blood, they did a chest x-ray.
And I said, does he have pneumonia? And she said, I think the doctor needs to talk with you.
Almost immediately, we were informed by the doctors that there was something very seriously wrong. There was an x-ray that was shown to us, and it didn't look right.
His heart was huge. It was almost, his entire chest cavity was almost full, and it was of his heart.
The doctors inform the Bowens that Michael's enlarged heart is weak and not pumping normally. He could have a simple infection, high blood pressure, or something much worse, like heart disease.
I wanted to vomit. I was ill. I went to the restroom because I didn't want to cry in front of anyone. And when I came back in, they were coming in with a crashed cart, and they were pushing us out of the way and telling us that we needed to move back. And I could see the fear in my son's eyes. The world went in fast motion from that moment on.
Michael is admitted to the pediatric intensive care unit while doctors try to figure out what's wrong with his heart.
You have all types of life support devices and monitoring devices and intravenous strips, and all of this suddenly attached to your child.
I asked the pediatric cardiologist what was going on. He says, I don't know what's going to happen, but I can tell you it's going to go one of 3 ways. He's going to get better, he's going to die immediately, or he's going to die over the next 2 years.
Tests reveal that Michael has myocarditis, an inflammation of the heart muscle possibly due to infection. It's a dangerous condition that can quickly turn deadly. In order to treat it, doctors must first find out what's causing the infection.
So they ran a lot of blood tests to try to figure out what was going on. Was it a virus? Was it a bacterial infection? And we weren't getting the answers except to say that this has been going on for a while, and we couldn't figure out when it all started. Did it start when Michael came home from the hospital? Did it start with his cough? Did it start when I gave birth to him? When was this magic moment that we missed that we could have saved our son from being in the hospital?
While Shelley is with her youngest son in the hospital, Aunt Linda is watching his older brother and sister at home. Suddenly, 2-year-old Evan begins showing signs of sickness too.
I noticed that Evan was having some upper respiratory type symptoms also, and I called Shelley. She was in the intensive care unit and said, we're bringing Evan in.
So I thought, oh my God, is this contagious? And there was an emergency room pediatrician who literally patted me on the back and said it would be like lightning striking twice in the same place for these children to both have the same illness.
ER doctors examine Evan and are shocked to find that his heart is also enlarged. The doctors are baffled. How could Michael and Evan be suffering from the same heart problem?
No one had ever seen the circumstances of where two siblings about a year apart would be coming into the hospital with the exact same conditions of heart failure.
Evan and Michael are put in the same hospital room.
For the first time in 11 days, these boys were reunited, and I had not seen Michael so happy as when his brother, whom he was very close to, was there.
After 3 weeks, the boys eventually stabilize on their own, but doctors still have no idea what's going on. Evan and Michael are placed under quarantine.
Nobody was allowed to come in without being completely outfitted with fluid-resistant clothing. They had to wear gloves, had to wear masks.
They were scared that it was contagious. They didn't know what was wrong with the boys and if they could pass it to me.
They didn't know what it meant. Nobody knew what was going on with my children.
One-year-old Michael Bowen and his 2-year-old brother Evan are quarantined in the same hospital room. They are both suffering from a mysterious heart inflammation, and doctors have no idea what's causing it.
There was a physician that was called in who was a specialist in epidemiology, and he wanted to evaluate the boys to see if they had taken something that was toxic, if I had given them something to make them sick. He asked us a lot of questions. He asked us where we lived, what have the boys been exposed to, what's going on inside of the house. The questions were very personal. Did you have promiscuous sex? Was Michael promiscuous? Did you ever give your children drugs? Have you ever taken cocaine? Do you take cocaine now?
They were just considering every possibility, no matter how outrageous that possibility may have been, and it was very distressing to us.
The boys were tested for AIDS. They were tested for tox screens. They were tested for viruses and bacteria infections and all types of things.
All the tests come up negative, but the epidemiologist still isn't satisfied. He sends a team of investigators to search the Bowens' home for anything suspicious.
They looked under my cupboards, they went into the drawers, they went underneath the cabinets, they went through the house with a fine-tooth comb.
We discovered that there was a fracture in the foundation and that there was some condensation or something that was working its way up.
Inspectors determined that the condensation could create the perfect environment for certain molds that release harmful spores and can cause infection. Though they can't prove that there is any of this mold in the Bowens' home, they think it's likely. They label it a sick house, and the Bowens are forced to move.
I was eager to get away from the house. I felt that we had found the cause of why the children were sick, and if we got away from the cause, that it would be done.
6 weeks later, Evan and Michael are released from the hospital and move into their new home. They have been put on medications to strengthen their hearts, and Shelley is told to monitor them closely.
You know, I kind of became this neurotic mother. There were nights when one or both of the boys were sick, and I would go in and I would put the stethoscope on their chest and I would fall asleep next to them listening to their heartbeats. I was becoming obsessed because I was going to save our children. I was going to save them.
2 years later, on a family trip to the circus, the moment Shelley has been dreading happens.
Michael was just sitting there just enthralled and just watching everything. Evan could not get comfortable. I got this sense that something wasn't right with him.
It appeared that Evan was having some difficulties breathing.
I just knew that he needed to be seen. I was at the point that I was almost frantic.
The Bowens rush their 4-year-old son to the emergency room. Evan's heartbeat is weak and abnormal, but doctors won't be able to determine why it's not pumping well without examining the heart muscle itself.
They recommended a heart biopsy, which is a procedure where a very small portion of the heart muscle is actually removed for examination.
Evan is quickly prepped for surgery.
I handed him over to the doctor and I said, take very good care of him. So my husband and I went back out to the waiting room and we waited. We heard that there was a code blue in the catheterization lab, and Evan was in there.
Just minutes into the procedure, Evan goes into cardiac arrest. Doctors scramble to resuscitate him.
And it took them 10 attempts to get his heart back to where it was beating again.
The procedure is aborted. Evan is alive, but doctors are back to where they started. They've got a 4-year-old boy whose heart keeps failing, and they don't know why.
And I said, what are you going to do? And he said, well, we don't know what we're going to do. We don't know. And I was sick of we don't know. I am sick of we don't know.
The doctors tell the Bowens that Evan's heart has deteriorated. He now has a condition called cardiomyopathy, meaning his heart muscle is too weak to pump blood through his body.
And this was different than myocarditis, which was an inflammation of the heart caused by an infection. So now we had moved from an acute illness into a chronic illness that was going to last probably the rest of their lives.
Shelley wants every possibility considered.
I felt that every stone had been turned over except genetics. Why would you have 2 boys and 1 girl who was seemingly fine, and 2 boys developing a similar situation?
A geneticist is called in to examine the boys. He thinks Shelley may be onto something and shows her a paper describing a rare hereditary heart condition. A few of the symptoms match the boys, but it isn't a diagnosis.
This thing was like a nameless disorder, and it was not anything. It was just a description, and essentially everybody that was in this paper was dead.
After 6 days in the hospital, Evan has stabilized and goes home with no answers.
There was this sense that we were on borrowed time. You know, we were really on borrowed time.
2 months later, Evan's time runs out.
Evan one morning got very sick. I had to go to the market, and I came back, and he had managed to crawl out of his bed and was laying right in front of the door. He was laying there crying. He was just very tired. He was extremely tired.
Terrified, Shelley calls her husband and rushes Evan back to the hospital.
And as soon as I got up to the floor, it was apparent there was something seriously wrong.
Evan was in cardiac arrest. Again.
A code was called. They worked on him from 7 o'clock that evening until 11:30 that night.
They were preparing to move him to another hospital that was more equipped to deal with that type of trauma.
And I said, when they transfer, him, I asked if I could go with him, and I couldn't. And it was the longest drive. It was just across town. It was the longest drive I've ever gone in my life.
When the Bowens finally make it to the hospital, Evan's heart is weak and barely beating. He's in critical condition and fighting for his life.
They took Evan into the PICU. We knew that it was bad. We knew that it was very bad. They had been working on him an extraordinarily long period of time.
And then his body just gave out on the 23rd of June in 1990, and he died, and I needed tissue.
I'm not going to describe it to you because I don't ever want you to understand how it feels.
It was the worst day of my life. It was the worst day of all of our lives, really.
After Evan's death, all eyes turned to his younger brother Michael. Would he be next?
And I said, I will be damned if I'm going to bury another child, because it almost killed me to bury one.
A year has passed since Shelley and Michael Bowen lost their 4-year-old son Evan to a mysterious heart condition. His younger brother Michael is suffering from the same unknown illness and could be next. The Bowens are terrified.
Are we going to lose another child? Are we, is Michael going to go downhill?
Shelley shares her fears with Michael's new pediatrician, Dr. Patricia Blanco.
Her concerns were very serious concerns because we're talking not scraped knees and not little boo-boos that kids get. I mean, we're talking life and death situations.
Michael is put on a regimen of medications to strengthen his heart and prevent it from getting worse.
He was taking Lanoxin, which would strengthen each beat. And the ACE inhibitor was to stop progression of the heart failure and the cardiomyopathy.
Michael seemed to be doing much better than Evan ever did.
For the next 6 years, Michael is stable. And by the time he is 10 years old, he is doing so well that his cardiologists decide to wean him off of his heart medications. Then disaster strikes.
I was noticing that he was getting more fatigued. His pallor was not good. He was, he was kind of dusky looking. That old feeling of dread came back, and I knew that something was not right.
It's happening all over again. Shelley races Michael to his doctor. He's immediately put in the intensive care unit.
The cardiologists were very concerned. They felt that he should be placed on a transplant list because his cardiac function overall appeared to be deteriorating.
All of the things that we had lived through and my worst nightmares that had been realized were now resurfacing.
But Shelley refuses to stand by while another son is taken by a disease no one understands.
My wife is just not the kind of person to take no for an answer, or to take I don't know for an answer. She doesn't give up. She's relentless, and she took it upon herself to find out everything that she possibly could.
Shelley and Dr. Blanco start sifting through boxes of Evan and Michael's medical records.
We decided that there was more to the story that we needed to figure out.
She came over to my house, and we just laid all of the paperwork out on the floor, and we began to compile the chart.
We tried to go back and just try to look at every piece of information.
And she began to put all of these pieces together.
Dr. Blanco notices a paper that she thinks describes Michael's symptoms exactly.
When I read it, it was like, oh my gosh, Shelley, this geneticist is suggesting that there might be this rare condition that, Michael might have.
It's the same document that was given to Shelley by the geneticist 6 years earlier. But now she sees it in a whole new light.
And it was called fatal infantile cardiomyopathy and neutropenia.
Immediately upon reading this, I realized this could have been written about my sons.
And if somebody can describe it, then somebody can help us. And somehow, in my mind, I thought there was a glimmer of hope.
Shelley calls the author, Professor Peter Barth, a pediatric neurologist in the Netherlands.
And I said, do you speak English? And the voice said, a little. And I said, could I please speak with Peter Barth? And the voice said, this is Peter Barth.
They probably spoke for an hour and a half, 2 hours. She went over all the details of everything she knew about the boy's case, and arrangements were made immediately. He said, I want you to come to the Netherlands. I want to examine Michael.
She was so excited the next day. She goes, "He's agreed to see us. He's agreed to see us. We just have to get over there."
Professor Barth asks for samples of Michael and Evan's muscle tissue to be sent ahead so he can compare their cells with another child's with similar symptoms. 6 weeks later, Shelley and Michael fly to Amsterdam, hoping for answers.
I knew that my time was limited, so I wanted to get this out in the open and to say, we're here because I'm looking for a diagnosis. Since 1988, we have been chasing this rabbit, and we're trying to find what's going on with my children. And I've got to know. If I know what it is, then we can fight it.
10-year-old Michael Bowen is suffering from the same mysterious heart condition that killed his brother Evan 6 years ago. Now, Michael's mother has a clue that might lead to a diagnosis. A pediatric neurologist in the Netherlands has tested her son's skin cells for a rare genetic disease. Shelley and Michael fly over to get the results.
Michael wanted to go see windmills. That was the one thing he wanted to do. And Dr. Barth said, "I'll take you to see windmills." So we went around the countryside, and we were sitting on a bench in this garden, and Michael was running around in this maze, and all I could see was his little head popping up and down. And Dr. Barth said, "I've compared the tissue specimens. The biopsies are very similar." And he said, "It is Barth syndrome. Michael does have Barth syndrome." It was a very powerful moment for me because this long quest for a diagnosis had finally come to a close.
Barth syndrome, named for Peter Barth, is an extremely rare genetic disorder. It affects mostly boys and is passed from mother to son on the X chromosome. It is characterized by 4 main symptoms: heart muscle weakness, a compromised immune system, fatigue, and growth retardation. Barth syndrome currently affects around 100 known families worldwide.
Barth syndrome wreaks incredible havoc on the human body. The heart itself can go into heart failure. You can have fatal arrhythmias where the heart suddenly stops. Children are sometimes overwhelmed by infection because their immune system just can't quite fight off the germs effectively. Unfortunately, there is no cure for Barth. We still don't know what is the average lifespan of these children.
After the diagnosis, Michael remains on medications to increase the strength of his heartbeats and regulate his heart rate. Professor Barth advises Shelley to never take Michael off his medications.
He had given us great hope that Michael could survive without a transplant and that supportive care would buy us the time that we needed until more was known about the disorder. The greatest hope for my kid to survive is to develop treatments and to know what's going on inside of his body.
Now 18, Michael, one of the oldest survivors of Barth syndrome, leads a normal teenage life.
I really enjoy photography, so I want to work as a photographer. I like to play video games and hang out with my friends, but I don't really do anything different from anyone without the disorder.
He does things that the average 18-year-old wants to do. He doesn't clean his room like the average teenager doesn't. You know, he has hopes and dreams for a future, and he plans on it.
Because his fragile heart risks getting tired, Michael avoids strenuous exercise.
I always knew that I couldn't play sports, but I didn't really let that stop me from doing anything.
One of the things that I've always tried to impress upon Michael with Barth syndrome is to explain to him, yes, you have Barth syndrome, and it's something that you have, but it's not who you are.
In 1998, Shelley started the Barth Syndrome Foundation to raise awareness about the disease and to honor the memory of her son, Evan.
Evan's life is not defined by Evan's death. Evan's life and the legacy of Evan's life lives on, and to never have known that precious child for 4.5 years would have been far worse than the loss of him.
I don't have many memories of my brother, but what I do remember was we were really close. So to get out the information about this disorder, to try to help the younger kids, is really important to me.
My son, Michael, is amazing. I couldn't be prouder of him because he's grown into the man that I always dreamed he would. And the little boy that didn't have hope is now a man.
Michael Bowen was just a baby when he became ill.